Hi all, this is Rishabh and welcome to my channel The Data Stuff. So today we are going to discuss another term in data engineering that is known as big data. So now when it comes to formal definition, the IBM says that any data that can be characterized as big data should have following three characteristics at least. There are 5 V's and 7 V's and 11 V's also, but the first 3 V's, that is volume, velocity and variety, are the most important characteristics when it comes to a data being big data. So volume means that the data is so huge in size that it is not possible to store it at one particular location. So you cannot have one server that can hold your data entirely. Velocity means even if the data is big, it is not constant. Like the data is getting generated and it is coming to the system in such a speed that over a period of time, let's suppose in 5 days, 6 days, 10 days, 1 month, there is a significant growth in the size of volume that you are storing on that server because of the velocity, of course. So for example, if suppose a month ago that data was suppose 5 terabytes, in a month it grew like 5.5 terabytes, in another month it is growing like 6.5 terabytes. So the data is getting bigger and bigger. So the speed at which data is growing, the velocity is so much so that it is very difficult to upgrade your system in which you are storing the data to match the scale at which the data is growing. Now variety, as we have discussed in our last video, there are different types of data: structured, semi-structured and unstructured. So a big data can have a lot of variety under its hood. So you can have flat files, you can have parquet files, you can have relational tables, you can have photos, videos, audios. All these kinds of data can be like clubbed together, and any system that is holding all these varieties of data can be categorized as the big data. So it's like big data is a term where like all these varieties of data are being considered. So variety is there, velocity is there, and volume is there. Like under a layman term, if you want to understand what is big data, so big data is any data which is so large that it cannot be handled, that is stored, processed and analyzed using traditional ways. So what do I mean traditional ways? So in traditional ways, what happens is that suppose you have a database server in your organization that has 64 GB of RAM, 16 terabytes of storage and 32 CPU cores. So this is a huge system, it's a big system. Now in that, what you have done is your database is installed. Suppose Oracle database is there. Now you defined your tables, your application started putting data in this server, and the data started growing. Now, after a certain period of time, you are very close to exhausting that 16 terabyte of storage space, because the data has grown so much so that only a very small amount is left in your disk storage. So, what do? You go ahead and you upgrade your system. Now, your system is of double the configuration of your existing system. So, you have now 128 GB of RAM, and you have 32 terabytes of storage and 64 CPU cores. So you doubled the capacity of your system. Again, this particular thing is going to work well till a certain period of time. Again, you are going to nearly exhaust your 32 terabytes of storage. So I don't think you can again easily go and upgrade your system from 128 GB to 256 GB of RAM, 32 to 64 terabytes of storage, or 64 CPU cores to 128 CPU cores. Like even if you are able to do it, there is a certain limit to it. You cannot keep on doubling the amount. After a certain period of time, you will have to stop this, because the efficiency of the system will go down, cost of it is also going to increase. So this kind of thing is a traditional approach where you are actually holding the data in one single location and you are upgrading the system to match with the demand. Now, because of the velocity, volume, and variety of the big data, one particular server will not be able to keep up with the demand. So, because of that, we will not be able to handle our big data using the traditional way. So, any data for you which you cannot manage with your existing system, single system, can be categorized as big data for you. So for example, currently on my laptop I am having the storage space of 500 GB of hard disk. I have around 8 GB of RAM, and my CPU core is, let's suppose, I guess 16. Okay, so my laptop can at max handle 500 GB of data, 500 GB of data. Now let's suppose if I want to hold more into my laptop, I have to upgrade it. Suppose I can do an upgrade and my hard disk becomes 1 terabyte in size, so that will also work fine. There will be some lag. Maybe I can upgrade my CPU, which is very very difficult, but still if I am able to do it, maybe I can upgrade my RAM by adding more RAM cards. But after a certain point of time, if suppose 1 terabyte of storage is also getting filled, my laptop cannot be upgraded beyond that point. I have to buy another laptop, or I have to buy another system, or I have to buy some space on some OneDrive, or like Google Drive or something. So you cannot handle your entire data on one system, and whatever is that size of data, post that size you can call your data as big data. So it's like, if suppose you have a data of 500 GB and your system can handle at max 500 GB, anything if you are going beyond that, if you are not able to upgrade your system cannot be upgraded after a certain point in time, but your data keep getting bigger and bigger, then in that scenario, that particular data will be big data for you. So it is a very subjective term. You can have the definition like what I said. It is any data that you have, like variety, velocity, and volume, can be categorized as big data. So the definition is there, but what should be the velocity, what should be the volume, and what should be the variety to call a data big data differs from company to company, differs from person to person, differs from application to application, differs from project to project. So it is very subjective in nature. That is why there is no absolute definition of big data. You can define your own big data, because any data that cannot be held or that cannot be managed by your existing system can be big data for you, and that can be true for everybody. So a person who is saying that, okay, for me, suppose 1 terabyte of data is big data, and there is an organization that says, okay, for me 1 petabyte of data is big data, then both people are right, because for them it is very difficult to manage that much amount of data, because their systems are so much so that they cannot go beyond that particular size to hold that data into their own system. So for them it can be. So there is a very subjective way of defining big data. But for, like, in a layman term, if I say that any kind of data that cannot be held or managed by your single system can be big data for you. So I hope you found this particular video informative. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can write it down in the comment section. I will be happy to answer. And if you like my content, please do like, share, and subscribe my channel. Please share it with your friends. Thank you so much.